It has been 4 years since my last poker vlog. So we are back, giving this another shot. Hopefully you enjoy this. And look for a different type of reaction videos on here to other poker vlogs videos. I'm gonna try and do something different, maybe get some people excited about some stuff. Let's get into this, but first, you might be wondering why I have such a small stack, and that is because I've been buying in for 100 the first time or two, just to see how everyone at the table is playing. So let's jump right in here to hand one. We've already lost a couple small pots. Missed the first little bit of this hand before I got to recording, but we are in seat 2 in the hijack. We've got Jack 10. We've already lost a few small pots, under the gun limps, early position limps, low jack limps. I toss in $2 and the small blind limps along. Big blind checks his option. It's pretty standard at these tables. I really need to be raising here as a normal play. But the flop comes King 9-8. It checks over to me. I've got an open-ended straight draw and multi-way. I don't see a reason to bet yet. So I check behind, and the turn is the 7 of diamonds. Now the UTG leads out for 10. Early position calls, low jack calls. I've hit the straight, so I'm going to be raising here. My goal is to get all the money in by the river without scaring everyone away. I have a really short stack. If I go all in right away, everyone's probably going to fold because they don't really have anything. That's why they're all checking it around. So I want to size the bet where they have an easy call on the river, so I just raise it to 25, and only the low jack calls. So even betting small, almost everyone folded. The river is a 2 of spades, so I still have the nuts. The low jack checks it over. It doesn't really matter what they have. I only have 26 behind. I expect them to call with just about anything they have that isn't air. So I jam. They do in fact call. And of course we win this one with the jack high straight. Our seat opened up at 1-3, so we moved over. We're sitting in seat 7. And we look down in early position at ace king. We open for 10. We get 5 callers. Flop comes 4, 6, jack with 2 hearts. I check it over to the table to see what they want to do. They're going to tell you the strength of their hands. They all check it around. The turn is a 7. I check it over again. Small blind bets out 16. And I end up calling with a tiny bit of showdown value and draws to overpairs. However, low jack raises it up to 60. This is an underbluff spot. This guy is just going to have the straight or a monster draw. It folds around to me, and I fold. Early position opens to 15, folds over to me, and I defend with deuces in the big blind. And the flop comes ace jack 6. I check it over, expecting him to bet, but he actually just checks back. His range has gotten a bit weaker. Could have a middle pair, suited connector. He could have an ace or jack jack. He's probably going to be betting here. Turn comes a 5, and this doesn't really change anything, but now when I check it over, he bets 20. This is a small bet. Doesn't really mean anything. His range is still weak, so I call. River is a 7, completing the straight for 3-4 and 8-9. This guy probably isn't betting on the turn with a gut shot, and he isn't going to have 3-4 to begin with. I check it over. He jams. I only started with 77, so this is a pretty easy call with 42 behind. Seems like he doesn't really have anything here, and if I'm wrong, it's a very small amount to lose. I toss in the call, and we are good. We're on the button with 1 limper, so we look down at kings, and our standard bet is 15 with 1 limper. big blind calls and the middle position limper calls. The flop comes 7-9 deuce with 2 clubs. It's pretty good for our hand. They check it over, and we put out the obligatory $15 continuation bet. Neither of them believed me, so they both called. One or both could be on a flush or straight draw. They could have weak pairs. Also, the turn comes the queen of diamonds. They both check it over again. The pot's now about 90. We have about 116 behind. It's barely over a pot-sized bet. We have 2 options: go small and let them call with their draws, and then jam on the river, or jam now and let them call with their draws and weak pairs that they probably won't fold. I go ahead and jam, but they both end up folding very quickly. I did not think this was going to be an interesting hand, so I got the camera started late. Here's what happened. There were 5 limpers pre-flop, so I went ahead and checked my option in the big blind. The flop came 4-6-2 with 2 diamonds, giving me bottom 2. I checked it, and the early position bet out for 15. There's still 1 person behind me, and I'd like to see what the turn brings. I don't have that big of a stack, so getting the money all in shouldn't be a problem. So I just call. The under the gun calls behind me. The turn is the 7 of diamonds, bringing in the flush. Both of these guys' ranges contain flushes after the flop action, so I check it over to get some more information. Surprisingly, they both check. Doesn't seem like either has a flush, or if they do, it's either the nut flush, they're slow playing in early position, or maybe a baby flush by the under the gun player. He checked to get the early position to bet again. He doesn't bet though, and it checks through. The river is the 4, giving me a boat and negating the potential flushes. It's less likely now that either of them have a flush anyway, and they shouldn't be putting me on a flush either. The pot is about $60, and I want to make it look like I'm bluffing at it after they both check the turn. I make a pot-sized bet, expecting any overpair or top pair to call once the board pairs. Unfortunately, they both fold. Looks like they were both on draws that missed. It's still nice to pull down a decent-sized pot. We're sitting on the cutoff. We've got ace-king. We make it 15 to go. Only the button calls. The flop comes 8-8-9 with 2 clubs. I make a standard check over to him, and he bets out 20. He could be betting here with a flush draw, an 8-9-9, a small pair, straight draw, even an air. I decide to float and see what he does on the turn. The turn comes a 7. I check it over again. He checks back. So what is his range now? After I check call the flop, he's not going to be slow playing as he thinks. I'll call. He's probably give up on his bluffs here, so he's probably got a weak made hand, or he's still on a draw that he doesn't want to bet in case he misses. The river comes the 2 of clubs. I decide to represent the flush here, even though he could have it. I bet out 40, and he instantly calls with the nut flush. In game, I thought that making the bet was a good idea, trying to get him to fold his pocket pairs. Not a bad try, but I think I could have went smaller. If he did get the flush on the river, which is in his range, then he's probably not folding anything, as my stack isn't that big. If he missed the flush, then he's probably not calling much of anything. So if I could take this one back, I'd probably bet more like 25 to get him to fold his weak pairs. I've moved to a new table and added on. Everyone's limping, so I limp in the button with 3-4 diamonds. This hand plays easily multi-way, but the small blind isn't having it. He raises to 25. I call with position, planning on taking the hand away if the opportunity presents itself. The flop comes 4-5-6, giving me a pair and an open-ended straight draw. That's a pretty good flop, and when the small blind bets 25 again, he could have an overpair, which is still beating us, or he has nothing. So, to keep his bluffs in, I just call and realize my equity. The turn is another 5, he bets another 25, So what's his range? When he bets small on this turn, his hand is probably pretty weak. Possibly a middle pair, top pair, or just two overcards that he's continuing bluffing, thinking that we might fold. I call again to keep his weak hands in. The river is a good card, giving me the straight. He again bets small, just $25. He might have absolutely nothing, or he might have a weaker top pair. Most people are going to get pretty sticky on paired boards when they have a pair. I want to get more money in, and if he's got nothing, he's not calling anything, so I target his two pair combos that I expect to call frequently. I raise it up to 115, about 2/3 of the pot, expecting to get called often. Unfortunately, he does fold pretty quickly, but we do take down a nice pot. Had a camera malfunction, only caught the last half of this hand. I'm in the cutoff with 7-8 suited. I make it 15 and I get 3 callers. The flop comes Jack 3-6 with 2 diamonds. It checks to me and I make a standard bet of 15, expecting some folds. The small blind and the middle position both call. The turn is the offsuit 5. This gives me the open-ended straight draw. They check it to me. So what are their ranges? Middle pocket pairs, flush draws are most likely. Possibly small straight draws on the flop. Only 4-7 hits a straight, and that's an unlikely holding. The flush draws are likely to call a bigger bet, so I bump it up to 120, just over pot size, expecting at least one of them to call, but they both fold. Take down another pot. Slowly working my stack back up when I look down at pocket 9s in middle position. I make it 15 to go and get 3 callers once again. Flop comes Jack 4-5. They all check it to me and I check back my showdown value. The turn is a 7. It checks over to me again. After they've all checked at least once, it seems like I probably have the best hand, so I throw out a bet of 15 to charge the draws and see where they're at. They all fold and I take down another pot. In the hand right before this hand, I suspect the guy on my right, who is a regular, to have looked at my phone when I checked my cards. I ended up triple barreling on a scary board and he called down with bottom pair, which is not something he really ever does. After the hand, I realized that when I looked at my phone, he was leaning back in his chair instead of forward like he normally did. So I'm fairly confident he cheated, but I just let it go and took it as a learning experience to better hide my phone screen in the future. Other than that, not much has been happening for quite a while. I've dropped down in chips again, and I'm in middle position with King Jack of Hearts. I make it my standard 15 and I get 2 callers. The flop comes Ace Jack 8, all spades. Pretty bad flop for me, but probably a bad flop for him as well. I do my standard check and he bets out 25 on the button, just about half the pot. The big blind folds and I decide to call, thinking I can take the pot away if he checks back the turn. The turn comes a 9 and I check it over to him again, planning on check raising. He bets out 25. This is my signal to raise him. If he's got a flush, he's not folding to a raise and may even re-raise. If he's bluffing or has a weak made hand, he's probably going to fold or call. But instead of raising, I just call. If I could have this back, I would have just min-raised him on the turn and decided what to do on the river. After losing that previous hand the way I did, it made me a little gun shy and not only cost me the pot, but it got me to call down with a weak hand that really didn't have any showdown value by the river. I've added on more chips again. I'm now in for 800. I've got Jack on the button. I'm ready to win a hand. I make it 20 on the button. Only the big blind and the small blind call. The flop comes 7-3-3 with 2 diamonds. They check it to me and I do a standard bet of 20. Probably should have down bet here to 15, maybe even 10, but the big blind calls. 8 of spade comes on the turn and he checks it over. So what's his range? He could be slow playing a monster here, 7-7 or ace-3, though a 3 is very likely.
150.
Check calling. He's probably on a flush draw, has an overpair or a combo draw. His pairs are weighted to 10s and to 8s, 5s and 6s. I don't think he's folding most of those, and also his flush draws. I make an oversized bet of 150 to target that range, and he makes the call. The river is the 4 of diamonds. He checks it over again. This is where I make another error. If he made the flush on the river, he's extremely likely to just donk out, afraid I'll check behind, which is what I did. So he's basically down to a few pocket pairs. I should be betting out here small enough for those middle pairs to call, something like 150 to 200, less than half pot. Unfortunately, I just check behind, but I do win a good sized pot, but I left quite a bit of money on the table. I don't usually get too many premium hands, but here we are working our way up to even and get dealt ace in the low jack. I make it 15 to go, and the big blind and under the gun both call. Flop comes 6 queen 9. Looks like a good flop for me. They check it over. I bet 30. I don't like this size. It's a bit too big or too small. I would prefer just going 15 here, but something like 50 would probably also be okay. The big blind folds. Under the gun jams for 28 total, less than what I had bet. I get a rebate, and he hits a straight on the river with 4-7 of clubs. Aces get cracked again. Fortunately, it was just a small pot. This one's pretty interesting. There is a straddle to 6 on the button and a few callers. I make it 40 to go in the hijack, and the button decides to jam all in blind for 225. It folds back around to me, and I snap it off. The board runs out queen 7, 6 3 2, and my ace high wins against 9-8. This is a nice pot to win and puts me back into profit territory.
I needed it. I ain't gonna get it if I don't call. Appreciate it.
You tilted it.
Yeah. Oh, I hit him once first, and then you nailed it. You finished the coffin. 55.
This is our last recorded hand. I'm in early position with king. I bump it up to 15, and the guy on my left makes it 50. Comes back around to me, and I decide to just call. If he's got aces, I'm pretty screwed, and if he bet again, he's probably going to fold just about everything. So to keep his weaker hands in, I just call it heads up. The flop comes queen 8-7, 2 diamonds. I check it over, and he bets out 45. I think about it for a little while. If I just call and he has a flush draw, I'm giving him free equity. If he has ace queen, he'll continue to bet small. If he has aces, I'm still cooked. If he has queen, even more so. So many possibilities here, including top pair. I decide to raise it up, targeting ace queen specifically. I make it 175 to go, but he folds pretty quick. He probably just had ace king or something like jacks to 10s and was afraid of the queen. That was the last hand we got on camera. I did go up about 200 before losing a few more hands. I was just about to leave when I got into a big pot with a flush draw and a pair versus a straight draw. I semi-bluffed, but he ended up getting trips, and I missed my flush. That put me down quite a bit, ending the night with a loss of over $400. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to see future videos. If you have thoughts or suggestions, drop them in the comments below. Good luck at the tables.